Maya Kowalski and family walking away with more than $250 million in their judgment against Johns Hopkins Children's Hospital. It's quite an interesting case if you break it all down. A lot of injustices taking place here, and a family that was ultimately torn apart. Money, not always the thing, not really ever the thing that can bring anyone back from the dead. So, was justice done? That's another question we're going to take a look at today is the body language that took place in the trial, not only from that of the defense, but that of the prosecution. Joining us to discuss this, body language expert, the best person on the planet to talk about it, Susan Constantine. Thank you for joining us. Susan, there were so many testimonies in this trial that we could break down, but what are some of the main ones that stood out to you that you'd like to talk about from the Take Care of Maya case?
Boy, I tell you what, it's different depends on what angle you wanna go with.
Hmm.
So when I'm looking at the one that stood out to me, of course, was Sally Smith. I
Hmm.
think we talked about that before because and I'm actually writing about this in my new book because I felt it was just so compelling that, really cases can be won or lost in expert testimony and the credibility of the witness.
Yeah.
So she didn't come across very credible. She came across as a real bulldog. One of the things that I'm going to be writing about is just her overall demeanor. It's what I call demeanor evidence, a body of evidence, right? Your body, your facial expressions, all of that tells you a lot about how you think and feel. And when I watched her testify, she did try to soften herself up a little bit. She wore her hair down, wore a little bit of makeup. But you
Mhm.
know, one thing they couldn't change was that great big crease in the middle of her forehead, which was that scowl.
Mhm.
She had a lot of scowling that was around her mouth, and then you mix that with her tonality, her her just her arrogance, which I think that really screamed loudly from that witness box. But the anger, this is supposed to be someone that's going to be basically a person that is not a caretaker, but watching over
Yeah.
Maya, and the scowling that she exhibited, that very deep crevice. It wasn't just a little scowl. That thing was embedded in there for years. So yeah, that thing has been there for a long time. So the point being, that kind of gives you a mindset of where she's at in her head and what her life was like. Because that tells me in order to have that strong of a line in your face, you're scowling a lot throughout your life. And it may be hereditary. If it's
Mhm.
hereditary, that tells you a little bit about her upbringing, right? So it just kind of followed the same pattern.
That's so interesting when you have something like that that can be hereditary, be generational, if you will, and really says a lot about one's demeanor, one's outlook on life, and just what their character may be like in general. What did you make of another testimony that took place in the trial, but it was in a deposition form? I still don't quite know why she never entered the courtroom. Catherine Betty, her testimony or her deposition, if you will. This is, of course, the social worker. There's a lot of accusations against her, including, I think, some new ones. I haven't seen individuals specifically named, but some of the allegations very much go back to what she's been accused of, and now including allegations, it seems, I believe, against her of possible sexual abuse. That's all outlined in that new filing from the defense of Maya Kowalski. We're just talking about her body language in that deposition. What did you take out of that?
Well, it's interesting if you look at it from head to toe how she dressed herself that day,
Hmm.
uh, from her glasses to her hairstyle. She looked like Joan Cleaver next door. The little polka dotted dress. Her voice was very soft. She appeared to be very kind. Her overall appearance seemed to be soft and likable. But then that's where you kind of tie in the evidence, right?
Hmm.
So people, what I call false actors, right? They're just bad actors. They try to put on this persona that what does an innocent, loving, kind, concerning person look like? And all they did is put that into a picture of how they're going to present themselves. So we are seeing in research and analyzing deception that we see this also too with Wendy Edelson in that case, where they have this head tilt, they have their mouth slightly open, like they're very caring and concerned. And the psychopathy behind it is really interesting to look into because we're seeing people in this case these are now two women, right,
Mhm.
that are appearing as if they're totally completely innocent, and we know that they're not innocent at all. So what do I think about it is that she does not think that what she did was wrong, that she has some boundary issues,
Mhm.
right? This is all about boundaries.
Yeah.
When you compare her responses to what Maya experiences and her hatred towards her, she hated her
Yeah.
because she was trying to take the position of being her mother.
Mhm.
And you can see that that's probably what really happened. So overall, her appearance was someone that you would trust, but
Sure.
we found out that she wasn't trustworthy at all. And that's where I think it's really important when we start learning how to read people that you can't always judge a book by its cover. There's sometimes more sinister, more deviancy that they're doing, and they're actually putting on the character of what they want people to perceive them being to persuade people or to misguide them.
Someone like that, where it almost seems very pathological in the way that their behavior is, like a Catherine Betty. Are they aware that they're exhibiting deceptive behavior or nefarious behavior, or is it one of those things where it's kind of so ingrained? This is how they operate that it doesn't even stand out to them, which is also why, at the end of the day, they think they've done nothing wrong.
Yeah, I think that there is a part of that narcissistic personality disorder
Hmm.
where they're godlike. They don't question themselves, and how dare you? And where we see people getting very angry and defensive is when you start to attack or question their decision making. When you do that, you start to see that narcissism pop out. So
Hmm.
to answer your question, I think that she has like, and I'll tell you, and truly, I see this a lot with even defense attorneys. They have these rose colored glasses. I don't know how many people like think that their client is completely innocent. And you're going, he murdered someone or she murdered someone.
Yes.
Oh, they're a nice guy. They're this, that. No, they're not. So I think that what happens is there's a methodology in their head that they can justify what they did, believe what they did to be true, convince themselves what they've done to be true, and therefore it becomes their truth. But keep in mind, I hate that phrase.
Hmm.
This is my truth.
I
I'm
do
living
too.
out my truth. I'm like, there's
There's
no
the
truth in
truth.
any of that.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's a universal truth, and we all know what that is. And that's just what I saw.
Yeah, yeah. What's your take on the testimony of Maya herself, of the family, of them telling their
Yeah.
stories?
Well, the thing is that I had the wonderful opportunity to meet them.
Okay.
Uh, I was able to meet Maya. I spoke with Maya. I spoke with the dad. I spoke with the brother. Maya had her boyfriend there that was with her too. And when I had the opportunity to meet them, outside the courtroom and talked a little bit about their case, telling him, I told Maya this. I said, Maya, I said, I want you to know something. And I said, your mother did not die in vain.
Mhm.
I said, this courtroom is going to be filled with moms, just like your mom, who are all falsely accused and had their children taken away from them, because I know moms like that.
Sure.
Okay. And just her overall demeanor was, she just wanted to collapse in my chest. She wanted to collapse into my friend's chest. Just she had that deep yearning to be nurtured and loved. And the eyes, when you look in their eyes, they're windows of their soul, so much sadness and brokenness. And they were the most humble family. And I'm so glad I had that experience. And watching to her to testify, she was 100% truthful. There was nothing. She never deviated from the truth. She never got stuck in she always says that she never allowed anyone to misguide her or to kind of lead her down a path that was not true. She had this gentle way of holding her ground without becoming as a sarcastic teenager.
Sure. Yeah.
She did not appear that way at all. Her tears were genuine. Her sadness was genuine. Her accounting of everything that happened was genuine. The same thing with dad. When I watched and talked to dad, even outside, and then watching him in the courtroom, the sense of loss and brokenness, I mean, they had nothing to hide or to mislead or misguide because everything they told them was exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And when you sense that, when you're listening to, and I always said this, it kind of reminds me of like when you go to the opera, right?
Mhm.
When you hear somebody singing, it can move you to feel emotion, right? Whatever
Sure.
emotion they want you to go into. When they spoke, it moved you to feel that pain. And that's when you can decipher if it was authentic or not, if it was true.
Sure.
Now, let's put the other two with it. Did you feel, or anybody else feel any sort of empathy or belief in those two, other Beatty and Smith?
Mhm.
And I would say no. They had a different impression of both of them
Yeah.
because the emotion they felt when they were speaking was not authentic. It seemed contrived. It was angry. There was all kinds of deception built in it. It's a complete opposite of the family. And I think that's the reason why. And I was shocked that literally won everything. And I was sitting in my living room and I was watching the trial. And I felt like I was at a football game, right? I'm going, yes,
Yes. Yeah.
whoa, I was flooded with emotion. I began crying, which is so not like me, but I felt the pain of what that family went through and that loss.
Yeah.
And I just take me back to Maya, your mama did not die in vain. She is going to open up the corruption that is happening from everywhere, from CPT to CPS to these psychologists, these hospitals, some even in some law enforcement that has to work alongside of what CPT and CPS tells you in the courts. This is going to open up to be a massive class action lawsuit. You wait, it's coming.
Hey, it's Tony Brueski. If you want more of our interview with our guests, be sure to check out our podcast, Hidden Killers with Tony Brueski. Just search that wherever you download podcasts and press subscribe. Also, you can check out our YouTube channel for the full video version of the interviews as well, under the same name, Hidden Killers with Tony Brueski. Check it out, subscribe, binge, and enjoy. Thanks for watching.